What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. We are on our NFC North Division preview show. Got my guy Walker here with me. We'll be looking at, like I said, the NFC North: Packers, Lions, Vikings, Bears. Oh my! This is a really interesting division. We were just talking about it before we started. You had mentioned the Vikings were 11-0 in one-score games last year. Um, if they split those, they're pretty much not a playoff team anymore. But just looking at the 2022 standings, it's a much different division than it was a year ago. Obviously, you have Aaron Rodgers is no longer in the division. He's gone. So you have a relatively familiar face taking over, but I mean, we don't really know what we have in Jordan Love. Um, so last year, like I said, Vikings won the division at 13-4. Detroit Lions 9-8, just on the cusp of a playoff spot last season. Really, the surprise of the league. Packers 8-9. Bears obviously finished 3-14, worst record in the league before trading off that number one pick to the Carolina Panthers. Um, what are your expectations for the division as a whole, Walker, going into this season?
I think it's going to be really tight. I really think I think in Vegas, like if you were just rating odds wise, Detroit's currently the favorite, Minnesota's second. I think Chicago's third, and Green Bay is last. And but I think that there may only be one or two games that split all four of those teams. I really think that, and not necessarily because the division's bad, not the old NFC South or the old Seahawks team that got in at 8-7 or 7-8-1 or whatever. Not that kind of division. Just I think we could see a lot of 9-8 here, a lot of 9-8, a lot of 8-9, maybe a 7-10. You just mentioned it. Vikings 11-0 in one-score games. That's something that almost is for sure not going to repeat itself. And so if that's the case and it's not going to repeat itself, they're going to fall somewhere in the middle. Green Bay is almost a complete unknown. That defense is fine. But again, the Jordan Love thing, we really have no idea. And it's almost like getting a rookie. It's almost like having a rookie starting quarterback in a way. And so you don't know there. The Bears were in almost every game last year, but Justin Fields found ways to kind of break their back late in games because he would turn the ball over. He wasn't efficient throwing the ball. What kind of jump do we get from him this year? And that's what I find most interesting. That's the most interesting storyline to me. Chicago's a team on my Sunday ticket. They're a Sunday ticket team for me early in the season. I want to see what that team looks like. They play Green Bay week 1. Rodgers is gone. Do they finally get the proverbial monkey off the back and get over the hump there? Detroit for once is almost the most uninteresting team. I kind of feel like I know what I'm getting, and it's just going to be whether or not someone can ascend and be better than that, or someone can, or if Detroit's going to have enough.
Yeah, it's weird. It's going to be weird not having Aaron Rodgers basically manhandle that division like he has for the majority of his entire career. Justin Fields, I think I want to see. I'm very curious to see how the additions they made in this offseason, his name is slipping my mind. Who they traded for? Basically, they gave.
Yeah, they got DJ Moore in the in the trade for number 1 overall. So now you've got DJ Moore. You still have Darnell Mooney. You just extended Cole Kmet. Chase Claypool's still there. The offensive line's not good, but it's at least better than it was a year ago. It may at least be closer to league average. It's going to be for sure. It's going to be a prove it year for Fields. And I want to buy the stock. I want Justin Fields to be good. I like Justin Fields. I'm somewhere in between right now. I haven't bought stock, but I haven't sold any either.
Yeah, it's all going to depend on, and again, his legs too he's dangerous in the run game. Just a matter of being able to stay healthy, as we're seeing with so many, especially smaller running quarterbacks, i.e., Kyler Murray, who I talked about with Mo a little bit on our show when we previewed the NFC South. Just Kyler Murray just being small and running quarterback that taking that beating, and eventually he got hurt, and we could see him on the decline. So we're gonna jump into quarterback rankings. Out of the four quarterbacks, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields are all the presumed starters. I think they're all pretty much locks. I- If not 100%, they're about 99%. The only wild card, I guess you would say, is Jordan Love, and even then, not much of a wild card. Who do you have as the fourth quarterback in that division?
Jordan Love, just because of the uncertainty. Like, I mean, I don't know what I'm getting. Like, I mean, Jordan Love could easily ascend as high as number two because again, like golf, similar to the Lions as a franchise, like very steady. Like, or this edition of the Lions, not traditionally, but this edition of the Lions, like really steady, and there's a lot of average with golf. Like, and maybe Love's upside hits and like he's better than average. And in that case, he can ascend. But until we actually see stuff from him, like he's gonna be last for me here.
All right, who do you have at number three?
I actually struggled with this a little bit. I went back and forth. I'm gonna put Fields at three. Just because I want to buy stock doesn't mean I'm going to. I would like to move him up. I'd like him to be number two or even in theory number one in this division. But again, like I'm very much like I have to see it person. Um, and I just want to see it before I kind of jump on the wagon and start moving him up the rankings.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I want him to play well. I want him to be good because I think he does have that upside. But again, until he shows it,
He's so dynamic and fun to watch. Like I would like to see it correlate to winning.
yeah. Who do you have at number two?
I've got golf at number two, like for all the reasons I just kind of mentioned. Just really, really steady. Like golf is really rarely going to ever throw you out of a game, but it's also probably not the guy you want under center when with the game on the line where he has to go win you a game. Um, and that's fine. Like that's perfectly fine in this division. Like that's going to be good enough, especially with the Lions having the best roster in the division. Like that's going to be enough to really just keep you in a ton of games and theoretically win you a bunch of games as well.
Yeah. Look at golf as being basically, and I know that in this day and age, it's almost a negative connotation. Not even almost, it is a negative connotation to be a quote unquote game manager. But that's what I view golf as, especially as of late. He had that one really big year, first year under Sean McVay, where he was playing lights out. They had that Monday night game against Kansas City, where I think there was over 1,000 yards of passing yards thrown in
Yeah,
that
I
game.
actually watched that game the other day and forgot that golf was a quarterback then, and it was just nuts. Like,
Yeah, game was crazy. But to be a game manager in this day and age, back in the early 2000s, that's what you wanted. You wanted a game manager, playing with a LT type running back, an Adrian Peterson, just somebody who wasn't going to go lose you the game. And I think, like you said, with this roster, Jared Goff just needs to be that, and hopefully Dan Campbell and his staff can make Jared Goff understand and appreciate that. Hey, we don't need you to go out and throw for 400 or 500 yards. We don't need you to be a Patrick Mahomes. We need you to be a Jared Goff and just don't lose us the game. Um, so which goes into who I think is the most overrated game manager in the game, and obviously going to be number one in this division in Kirk Cousins.
yeah, I think it's by default. I think I'm not a Kirk Cousins hater, but I'm also not like this Kirk Cousins truther that really thinks Kirk Cousins is like this hardcore. I probably was a few years ago, but not as much anymore. Um, he's just kind of number one by default. I mean, you've got two unproven quarterbacks. You know, Goff is I just think Cousins is like a tier above Jared Goff. Like, I mean, I think he's fine. I think there's a world where like if both number three and number four on our list tapped into their upsides and hit their ceilings, then you're talking about Cousins being like potentially the third best quarterback in this division. It's not exactly a super strong quarterback division. I think Cousins is fine. Like he is. I think the running game is going to be fine. Like I don't think Dalvin Cook is just this massive, enormous loss. Like Alexander Madison's probably going to be okay. Um, Thielen's a little bit of a loss with just finding another guy to throw to. Jefferson's going to be elite. That's a given. Um, but they've got plenty of pieces there where he's going to be okay.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins. When he was with Washington, obviously I wanted them to sign him to a long term contract, more so because there was nothing else really out there. I didn't see any immediate upgrades until eventually because I didn't think Alex Smith was on the trade market at that point. Um, but look, Kirk Cousins is good. He's again he's more of a game manager. You're not going to win because of him. You may win in spite of him, but you just need him not to lose you the games. But to me, he is the clear and concise number one again, just by default, depending on what Jared Goff can do. Justin Fields, if he blows up this season and finally reaches that next level, he may be able to take that spot. So we talked about the quarterbacks, and I say this on every show, and this is a well-known fact in this league. If you do not have a quarterback, you are not winning a lot of football games. Um, so but also at the same time, it's still a team sport. So who do you have? We'll start with the Packers as the most important non-quarterback player on that team.
Um, I think it's gonna boil down to like, and it's kind of hard. Like, it's gonna boil down to oh, his name's lost on me. The like almost like a Devontae Wyatt type player. Like, if you're not gonna get impact at the quarterback position, then you're gonna be really heavily relying on those running backs, and or we can call it Kenny Clark if you want to. It's really like, okay, well, if I know these things aren't going to happen and I'm not going to get impact offense, like I need pass rush. I need, to be able to stop the run at the point of attack. Like, we have to be really elite defensively. Like, that's been the game plan for a lot of teams in the past that have had success in the regular season. And so I think that it's someone like that for Green Bay, where if Green Bay has a successful season, it's because someone like a Devontae Wyatt or a Kenny Clark stepped up and their defense took another step and really became like an elite top end defense.
Yeah, there's one thing me and Mo talked about the other day too is that you either have a quarterback or you have somebody that can get after the quarterback.
Yep.
Arguably two most important positions on the field. Let's head over to Detroit. Outside of Jared Goff, who's your most important player on that team?
Jameson Williams, like, how is he gonna how's like we got him back from the ACL last year. And then, what does he look like again this year? Like, does he fill in across from Amon-Ra St. Brown and just give that offense another piece where it takes some of the attention off of it takes some of the attention off the backs. It takes some of the attention off of Amon-Ra and gives Goff another weapon. Like, you have to have those in order for in order for like a game manager type quarterback
Yeah,
to be successful. And unless he takes a step, like, it's kind of hard to see the Lions having another guy like that. I know he was absent from training camp the other day, and I want to say he got suspended like 3 games. But once he's back and like fully back in the mix, like, he's gonna have to be someone that's really impactful. You can't miss on first round picks.
right. Um, yeah, Jameson playing. He had what's it like?
I
Because
want
he
to say
ended
he
up
only got one ball last year or something
he was yeah he didn't do much. I think he only played in a handful of games.
because he was coming
Um,
back from the ACL, and he came back, and I mean, he didn't do a whole lot. And so you've had a whole off season where the knee is really not just a huge excuse anymore. Yeah, like, Jameson Williams is suspended for 6 games for gambling. Like, those those 12 or no, those 11 games he plays once he gets back gonna have to be impactful. Like, he's gonna have to be really good.
yeah. Minnesota outside of Kirk Cousins.
Kevin O'Connell. I think that, last year I'm chalking up as a fluke as far as 11-0, but how does O'Connell handle like when this team faces some adversity? Like, he was a rookie head coach last year. Every single coin flip kind of went his team's way, and they got out of a ton of really close games. So when this team loses 2 in a row, like 2 back-to-back road games, like, can he get them back on the wagon, or does this team just completely fall apart? Like, I think this year we're gonna see really more what he's like, kind of in that big in the boss's chair, kind of at the head of an NFL franchise. And I think that's kind of the most important thing for this group is like just kind of like being able to focus on one game at a time. And if you've lost two, like staying within your process and trusting your process and letting the results follow.
That's interesting that you went coach, because I was honestly thinking the same thing, just with because obviously you have your Justin Jefferson. He's obviously going to be a huge role. Madison's going to be big with Dalvin Cook leaving, but I do think coaches are kind of missed out on and how important they are, especially in the game of football. But you're right, Kevin O'Connell is being able to come back. When his team does have a little two game losing streak, how he's able to rally, because um, a coach's job is to get the most out of your guys. It's especially at the professional level. These guys know how to play football. You're not so much teaching them the ins and outs, the fundamentals. You're more so a motivator, and how he's able to get the most out of these guys when they're at their worst. But I like that. I like that pick a lot. Chicago Bears outside of Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just use kind of a collective here, but just that entire core group of those five offensive linemen. Like, what does that look like this year? Like, is Fields running for his life again? Even like, even in passing situations, or are they better? Like, have they progressed enough to where he's going to be able to stand in the pocket and we're going to be able to truly evaluate Justin Fields? Because if they're good enough, then that offense has no excuses. Like, that offense should be really good. There's plenty of pieces there where that offense should be an above average NFL offense, and potentially one of the two, or like one of the two best in the division. So when you look at it that way, like, I really think that it's all kind of up front. Like, in order for you to put pressure on Justin Fields and like really evaluate Justin Fields, that offensive line at least has to somewhat take some sort of step.
Yeah, yeah. If your quarterback doesn't have time to throw, you basically don't have a quarterback. That goes without saying. And Justin Fields is able to get outside of the pocket and make some plays, but again, you're running for your life every single play. Like, it's not gonna go well for you long term. That's not gonna last over an 18 game season. So we talked about the quarterbacks, talked about some key players and a coach. Who do you have finishing last in the division, and what is their win total going to be?
Um, so I've got Green Bay. I think that they win. I I've gone back and forth on the number. I think it's 6 or 7. I just don't think they're going to be very good. I'm not a buyer. Like, I always said that I thought that Green Bay defense overachieved for years. Like, I really thought you could move the ball against them, especially on the ground. And I think last year we started to see that that was a little bit more true. Like, nobody really feared the Packers defense. And when you have Aaron Rodgers, like, that makes it kind of okay. Like, because there's always like that safety blanket of, hey, we have Aaron Rodgers, like things are going to be all right. And then we got to a place where, well, Aaron Rodgers wasn't covering up all the holes anymore. And so I think that now you no longer have Aaron Rodgers. And so now I just kind of think a lot of those holes are going to show. Um, and Jordan Love's just probably not someone I'm betting on to cover up a lot of those gaping holes on that roster.
Yeah, Green Bay Packers, they're over under according to ESPN 7.5 games. A lot of people predicting them taking the under on that one. Who do you have coming in at third?
This is the one I struggled with. This is the one I struggled with the most, but I'm gonna put Minnesota third. I'm gonna put Minnesota third, and I'm gonna have them at 7-10. I think their over under is 8.5. That's my best. Like, if you asked for a best bet as far as win total, I would give you the Vikings under 8.5. We've already talked about it. Like, I'm betting on some regression in the one score department. I'm betting on, I think O'Connell's going to have a hard time this first go around, like handling a lot of the adversity. The defense was really, really bad last year, and the offense lost Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook. I think Madison's going to make up for a lot of Cook. But we're betting on Jordan Addison to kind of come in and replace Thielen right away. And like, maybe he does. But I'm kind of not willing to go there. So I think it's Minnesota third, but as I kind of said earlier, I think this division's so close. Like, this one could be, like, they could easily finish second.
So who do you have? Who do you have? Oh, and by the way, you are right. Minnesota, their over under is 8.5 as of right now. Who do you have coming in at second?
again went back and forth on this for a long time, but just for I'm gonna put Chicago second. I really wanted to pick them to win it. Like, I think I'm going to bet them to win it, maybe for the value. But like anyway, I do think the offensive line's better. Like, I like that offensive group, and I think there's something to be said for a young team and a rebuild that was in every single game last year. Like, it kind of told me like, hey, they're not that far away. Like, they need some. Not only just like do they need to upgrade personnel a little bit, but they also just need some roster like, or they just need some continuity growth. Like one of those things where they just go through stuff together. I think Fields is going to be okay. Like, I think he'll be an above average NFL quarterback this year. I am a Fields believer still. Like, I'm not selling stock yet. And so I think I've got Chicago second, and I think it's close. Like, I think they finish 9-8. I think they finish 9-8. Massive growth over the course of this season. They win some close games and are right in the hunt at the end of the season.
Uh, Bears are currently plus 400 to win the division, tied with the worst odds. With the Packers also at plus 400, Vikings at plus 280, Lions at plus 130. But yeah, the value I do like the value there just because and we've said it again, and I'll say it one more time. If Justin Fields is able to take that next step and progress, there's a good chance that they can win the division and host a playoff game. Right now, odds to just make the playoffs plus 175 and win total or they're over under against 7.5 points. So you have the Lions winning the division, basically just a carryover from last season, right? What we saw at the end of last year, going on that long run, almost making a playoff spot if it wasn't for Seattle.
Yeah, I think it's tight at the end. I think they finished 10-7 this year, but it's the type of 10-7 you really feel good about going into the playoffs. A young group that's grown together will get some playoff experience this year. I think they're just an upward ascending franchise right now. But I do think that getting late into the season, I do think getting really late into the season, that some of those games are really, really going to matter. Like, I think them in Chicago are really going to go down to the wire. I don't know if I said it from the jump, but I really only considered two teams to win the division, and it was Chicago and it was Detroit. Um, so I think that those Lions Bears games will really be important. And they're within 4 weeks of each other. They play week 11 and week 14, so like they're going to see each other twice in a really short period of time. If you made me bet, I'd just say kind of if one team wins both of those games, then I would tell you that team won the division. I just think those games are going to be hugely important down the stretch. But I do love I do love the upward ascension in Detroit. I'm really interested to see Dan Campbell's whole thing. Like, they really played being the scrappy underdog, like the we're gonna bite your kneecaps off and do whatever it takes to win. Well, now you're the favorite and
Yep.
everybody's gunning for you. Like, so how do you spin that now? How do they come out and how do they play week to week, knowing that everyone in the division's chasing them? And I think that's a weird spot for the Lions to be in.
Yeah, it's different. The saying goes, it's different being at the top. It's different when you are basically you're not the underdog anymore. You're the one looked at who you're supposed to win. Right now, they're over under 9.5. Um, the highest in the division. They are expected to win. They are betting favorites. It's different when nobody sees you coming. You get to fly under the radar. Now everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows what you're about as a coach and Dan Campbell and the kind of offense they're going to be running. Um, I'm excited to see them play this season. They're going to be one of the teams outside of obviously the Commanders and the NFC East as a whole that I'm going to pay exceptionally close attention to. Um, but yeah, um, good stuff. Walker, I appreciate you coming on. Go ahead and tell the people what you have coming up in the future.
Yeah, no. So we'll be back. I think we're actually recording in the next few days. We'll be back with Field Stormers ahead of college football. We've just kind of taken some time to a lot of really just gather our thoughts with everything that's going on. Everything's changing so much in college football that we kind of are trying to lay out our plans for the fall. But that'll be back in the next few days, talking realignment and stuff like that. And then just follow all the good people at offtheballnetwork.com. Like lots of good projects there. Like obviously you're over NFL content this year. See You a Sunday will be back.
Yep.
And then Overreaction Monday as well. Like both of those are going to be must see every single week. And so I just follow all the people at offtheballnetwork.com. Like there's sports betting content being churned out every single day. There'll be NFL football content, college football content, and then all of our guys over there have basketball covered all the time, even in the off season when nothing's going on. So make sure to follow all those people and support all their work.
And y'all already know where you can find me, FNC Pod on Twitter, Football and Show Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Once again, thank you so much for listening, for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you have not missed, if you have not caught on any of the other episodes, please go check those out. Once again, thank you so much, Walker. Again, thank you for coming on.